This is Steve. This is a demo video for the file mover edX course content that I created. So I'm going to walk you through how this program works, hopefully effectively and efficiently. First thing I want to show you is that over here in my terminal, I'm currently in the GitLab destination repo that ultimately I will push up the changes to. And if we look at this repo, you can see that it has up to, in this case, module 21, because that's the current progress of my current cohort. We are in day 1. We're going into day 2 of module 21. And if we look at the Git status on this, it's a clean module, meaning that a clean repo, meaning that there's nothing currently, no current changes in here. So ultimately, this is where I'm going to want the content from my content folder to move over. So then if we go over to the app, we can start the app by either using node index.js or, a little more common would be to use node run npm start. And when I start the app, it asks me if I want to review instructions. In this case, I'm going to say yes really quickly here because I want to give you an overview. But basically, what we're going to do here is we're going to select the content directory. That's the directory that has the clone of the GitHub class course content. Then we're going to select within that, we're going to select the module that we want to copy over to our destination directory. Our destination directory is our U of U GitLab clone. And then this is basically going to instruct the program to move over all the content from the content directory for the week that we select or the module we select over to the destination directory. Once all the content is over there, we are going to tell the program what solved or what main folders to remove or delete. So if we say delete true, that means we want to remove those. If we say delete false, it means we want to keep them. And then finally, we have an option to do a git add commit push of the GitLab repo up to GitLab to make that a little more efficient. There's other information and details about Windows and kind of how some of the pathing is working on Windows, or on Git how some of the pathing is working or commands are working between Windows and Mac. But you can review those. So I'm going to exit out of this. Right now, we could, at the very bottom of this, we could start the program, but for the sake of the demo, I'm just going to exit out of this. I'm going to clear my screen and I'm going to restart it. I'm going to say that I don't want to review the instructions. That will bring us right to the first step in the process, which is to enter the the path for the class content. The path should look very much like what I have here, where it starts with the kind of root area that you are, and then in this case, my class content is in users, Steve Calla, U of Oregon, and then ultimately full stack live class content. So in this case, I'm just going to hit enter for default. When I hit enter, it opens that folder in the background so that I can go look at that folder if I need to review what I might want to do. So in this case, this is all the class content clearly. And then what we're going to work on in this case is week 21 or module 21. But if I wanted to, I could look through and kind of see what's in here to remind myself of what I might need to do to move that content over. And then you'll notice that it opened that folder in the background, and then it also read the content inside that folder, inside O1 class content, and it's giving me a list of the various directories in there, which you'll be familiar with that. And if we look over here, it's essentially giving me this directory structure. And so now I can select which module I want to move over. Remember, in this case, we're going to work on module 21, MERN. So if I hit enter, that will be the directory that we're going to copy to the GitLab repo. So I hit enter to designate that directory. Now I need to enter the destination directory. As I showed you earlier, in this case, my destination directory is the U of Oregon GitLab repo, which is right here. And you can see that my path, if I did a PWD on this, that's the path it gives me back, and that's the path that I'm using over in the program here. And it would be the same for the content directory. When you PWD, that should give you the path that you need to input in here. So I hit enter because I want to select that destination path. And now I go on to the step where I need to designate whether I want, what solved I want to add. So in this case, I'm going to delete all of the solved so that I can selectively choose the and when I say delete all the solved, in this case I mean I'm going to keep all of the solved so that I can selectively choose for activities 1 to 10, 11 to 20, or 21 to 28 whether I want to keep them. So in this case I'm going to keep. So do I want to delete all the solved? No, because I'm going to selectively choose which of the activities I want to keep. In this case, I do not want to delete 1 to 10, so I'm going to say no. I do not want to delete 11 to 20, so I'm going to say no. I want to remove or not keep 21 to 28. In this case, let's just keep the algorithm folder, so I'm going to say no, that I don't want to delete the algorithm solved. And on the mains, I'm going to say no, I don't want to delete them, but I do want to delete it for the challenge. And typically you'll be deleting it for the challenge every week, so normally you'll be saying yes to that as a default. So then it gives me a summary of what I selected, right? In this case, I said that I don't want to delete the all solved because I want to selectively keep the 1 to 10 and 11 to 20, but I still want to delete 21 to 28. I want to delete the algorithm folder solved, and then I want to keep the all folder main. I want to keep all of those because I just want to remove them from the challenge folder. Again, like up here, it opened this directory for me. So now I have, I have my CLI here where I can monitor what's going on in the GitLab repo. It opened up the U of U content folder for me. So I'll collapse some of this stuff for a second here. So it opened up this for me where I only have through week 21 in here. And then I have my original content over here. So right now, for example, if we look in here, in the algorithms, there are no solved in here. But recall, and same thing in the challenge, there's no main here. So recall in the algorithm, for example, that we said we don't want to delete these. So when I confirm that I want to move forward, would you like to copy and delete per the selections indicated here? It will execute that and populate the folders as directed. So in this case, would I like to continue? Yes. And then it confirms that it copied all the files over. It confirms that it deleted 21 to 28 and it deleted the main in the challenge. So when we come over here, what we expect to see is now we see in the algorithm folder, we see the solved in here where we didn't before. And in the main folder, in the challenge folder, there's no main in there because we deleted it. But if we go over to the activities, in activity 28, there's typically a main folder in there because that's the solved. So if I look in here in activity 28, you'll see there's a main folder in here. If we didn't want that main folder because it wasn't day 3 of the course, we would have just deleted all folders for main, and that would have deleted it out of there. But because we only said to delete it out of the challenge folder, it did not delete it out of this folder. In addition, we also said we want to keep solved in 1 to 10, 11 to 20, but delete it in 21 to 28. So in 22, for example, we see we have no solved. In 24, we have no solved. But if we go to 20, there's a solved in there. If we go to 16, there's a solved. If we go to 8, there's a solved. So all of that happened the way we expected it. And if I go over here and do git status, what we see basically here is that it wants to add solved to 12 to 20. It wants to add main to 28. And it wants to add solved to the algorithms, right? And all that makes sense because that's what we asked it to do. In this case, we could do one of two things as a next step. We could decide that we made a mistake and we want to do this differently. In that case, we can go over and Command C out of this program and rerun it and just change the options. If we change the options, it will override everything we did previously and just kind of select different, it will move everything over and then decide to delete different options. So we could do that. We could also, clearly from the terminal here, I could do a git add push and commit this up to main. Alternatively, I could use the option here, which is to use built-in functionality here to add, commit, and push. So if I say no to this, it will exit out of the program. In this case, I'm going to say yes. And so in this case, I said yes, I would like to move this content up to the GitLab repo. And so it asks me just to confirm that this is the correct path, giving me an option to get out of this if for some reason it's not the correct path. I'm going to say yes. It asks me if I want to create a new branch. You may have noticed over here that we're in the main branch. And typically when I do this process, I just push up to main branch and I don't worry about branching. For the purpose of this demo and because sometimes it's nice to push up to a branch rather than push up to main if you're not confident. I'm going to say yes, that I want to push it up to a branch. I'm just going to call this test weekly. Test file mover, because I'm not going to merge this in ultimately. Then it asks me for a commit message. I'm just going to say testing file mover. And then it goes through and gives you the process that it went through for the Git. So in this case, unfortunately, in this case, I picked a name that already existed, so it couldn't recreate that branch. So that's clearly something you want to check and make sure that you're going to push to a branch that doesn't exist. And so when it went through the process of pushing, it pushed this up to main, and these are all the changes it made. And then it did it just staged all of that, right? And then it's showing us that it's going to do a commit to the main branch, and then it used my commit message, and then it did a push, and it's showing me that I pushed up to main in this case. So if I go over to GitLab, which I just have to pull up here, give me a quick second to grab GitLab here for us. So if I go over to GitLab and I look at my history here, and sometimes it takes this a second to update. So here's the history. So you can see that this is what we pushed up a minute ago, testing file mover, authored 1 minute ago. And then if I look at that history, I can go through all of this history. I won't bore you with that. But if I go over to my main area here, we can see, for example, that if I go into 06, if I go into 21, MERN, in my algorithms, I have solved in there, which ultimately I don't want because of the class that we're currently in, but I'll revert that. If I go into my challenge, I have no main. If I go into my activities, remember we kept main in here, so I still have main in here. And if I go into, for example, 03, there's a solved in there. If I go into 22, there should be no solved in here, right? So all of that pushed up properly, although I wanted it to go to a different branch. So what I'm going to do here really quickly, because I want to revert all of these changes, I'm just going to run the program again to show you kind of, it's relatively easy to revert. So at this point, would I like to review the instructions? No. I'm going to send up my content. I'm going to select 21. I'm going to select that. Would I like to delete the solved? No, I don't want to delete the solved. Would I like to delete 1 to 10? No, I want to keep that one because we're in class 1 going into class 2. Yes, I want to delete it. Yes, I want to delete it. Yes, I want to delete it. On the mains, in this case, I want to delete the mains for everything because I don't want the main for 28 and I don't want the main for challenge. So this is what this should look like. Would you like to copy and delete? Yes. So it went through and did that. I can go over here and review my status. So if I go over here and look in 28, there's no main. If I look in the challenge, there's no main. If I look in the algorithms, there are no solved. If I look in 11 to 28, there should be no solved, and you can see it removing it there because I opened the folder, so it removed it. So those solved are no longer there. So I can do a push here. So I'm going to say yes. In this case, that is the correct path. I don't want to create a new branch, so I'm going to create a so now it's creating that process, pushing it up for me. And it says it pushed it successfully, so I should be able to go over here and look at my history. I see that second one that I just pushed up, and then I should be able to review the content really quickly here and see, most importantly that, for example, for the activity 28, I don't want the main in there. So that's good. For activity 12, for example, I don't want the solved in there. For the challenge, I don't want the main in there. That's good. And for the algorithms, I don't want the solved in here. So it looks like that's good. So that's the process. And if I go over here, I can see that I have a clean branch because I did the push from here, but again, it's optional. You don't have to do the push from here. You can review everything in your content directory and do the push from there directly. That's it. Thanks, and let me know if you have questions. Bye.